And I believe we're recording now. So, okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the role management section and the different roles and the different options within those roles. Go here to role management. And as you know, like the roles will be added to the users, and that based on their role will give them access to what we call objects. These are on the left-hand side are what we call objects, but you can think of them as pages within the application and certain functionality within the application. And also with the role is if you have somebody that's going out on maternity leave, for instance, and somebody else is going to be taking their responsibilities while they're gone, you can put a start and an end date on a role as well. So you can grant access to certain functionality for a period of time and set that end date so that you don't have to worry about going back and removing that role from that user that you temporarily wanted them to have access to. As we know, the site administrator role is the role of all roles. It grants access to every piece of functionality and anything that you could possibly want it to do in the LMS. So this role should really be limited to just LMS administrators. A lot of clients have like semi-LMS administrators where they pretty much grant them almost everything, but they still, you know, there's a couple things that they wouldn't have. So, for instance, in my demo database, I have an administrator role that gives anybody that has this role a lot of access to the application, but not everything. The other roles I want to talk about before we start creating roles and explain them a little bit are these approver roles, checklist approver, client's path approver, you have LP approver, and training session approver. Even if you give a user, for instance, on course management, if you give them view, edit, add access, they're still going to need the course approver role in order to make that course active. So, and these roles don't have to have any objects in them. They can, but they don't have to. So this role of course approver has no objects, but it would still need to be granted in order to give somebody access to make a course active. Again, this would be anybody but a site administrator. They don't need this site administrator to do that. So I wanted to bring that up. So we're going to go ahead and add a role. And again, you can name the role anything you want. You could put regional manager, for instance. And go ahead and make this active, and I'm going to go ahead and submit. And then you're going to decide what do we want this regional manager to do. This regional manager, let's say, is limited to instructor-led training, for instance. So we know that we want to give this user access to user management because they're going to need to find users. Do we want them to be able to edit a user's transcript? If so, we want to give them transcript management. This is something new, Susie, too, that I don't know if you know was there or not. Before with user management, if you had user management, view, add, edit, you could also edit the user's transcript.
Okay.
So we broke that apart. So now if you can give a user access to user management without the transcript, so they can go in and edit users, but they can't make any alterations to the user's transcript. So this is fairly new. And we're going to want to give this user training session management and standard reports. We also want to let this user register users for training management. So we're going to do registration wizard. And all these are in alphabetical order. I'm just skipping around thinking of what I want this user to have access to. And I also may want this user to have completion wizard access, so that if I have events, for instance, that don't have any, or training sessions that don't have any events, I'm just going to go in and complete them via the completion wizard. So once I've selected everything that I think, I want this user to have, I'll just go ahead and select Add. I'm also going to give them course management, decided. So initially, when these come over, a lot of them just have view. Some of them are defaulted to view, edit, add. Now, there's a couple one-offs as far as access. In course management, for instance, you'll see manage. This option is only available in course management, learning path management, training session management, and compliance path management, as well as the registration wizard. So if you select this and under curriculum management, the user will only be able to view and edit courses, learning paths, training sessions that they are the manager of. So if you have managers that you're allowing to create curriculum for, if you give them this manage access, again, they'll only be able to see only the courses that they're a manager of. So that's the difference of a manage, with the manage access. The other thing on the registration wizard, when the user is assigned as a unit manager, when they go into the curriculum registration wizard, they will only see the curriculum that they are a manager of in the drop-down. So when they're searching to register people, they're only going to be able to register people to the curriculum they're managing. So that's one of the other one-offs. We also have another one under completion wizard, and that is instructor. It's only available in the completion wizard, and what this will allow, if the user only has instructor access for completion wizard, it will allow them to go in and complete users, but they won't be able to change anything like the CEU type, or the hours, or anything on as far as how the curriculum was set up. They'll only be able to do the completion, so they won't be able to make any changes. We also have another option that's a one-off, and I'm going to go ahead and add order management here. And that is price restricted. So if a user has access to their order management, again, this would be for our e-com clients, it gives the user access to create and edit orders, but they would not be able to make any adjustments on the cost of the item, shipping costs, that type of thing. So that's another one-off option that we have. And again, these are all listed in the user guide if you need to go back and reference what these are for. After you've completed your role, of course, you just go ahead and submit. And you can change, if you want these to view, obviously is view only. They can only go in and view courses. If you give them view edit, they'll be able to go in and view and edit the course. View edit add, they'll be able to go ahead and upload a course, add a course, that type of thing, create the whole course management. So if you have any questions on the view edit, add, they're pretty explanatory, but if you did want to remove, you would just simply select the checkbox and remove it. So once you've created your roles, under the user management page, I'm just going to go ahead and do a basic search here and pull up any user. So by default, when a new user is created, they have the student role, and that's the only role that they're granted. But we want to go in, and this user is going to be a manager. So under the roles section, we're going to go ahead and hit the looking glass. And we're going to go ahead and give this user manager. And one thing that I tend to forget is after I select it, you hit the Add button. And here the default date is the start date, and the end date is a default, so way out there in time. You can change this. You cannot put an end date of a past date for any reason. So if you have a user that, that has a role today and you no longer want them to have that role, you'd be able to put today's date as the end date, and then at midnight tonight that role would expire for that user. So any questions on adding roles? I see we have a couple.
I don't have any.
Sherry, it's Kathy. How are you? Sherry, can you hear me?
I can hear you on the call, but I don't know if Sherry can hear you.
Okay.
Maybe we lost her. Oh, maybe we
Sherry, can you hear me?
I think we lost her.
That's okay. I'll hold my question then. Thank you for helping me. Sherry, are you speaking? I've lost sound from you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right, so we're back.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt the flow of the call.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
I have a quick
ahead.
question if I can ask you. So
Sure.
once in a while, we want to give permissions to employees that are not unit managers, meaning they don't have anybody under them. And so we manually mark their record, but then whenever we do our uploads, it always gets erased. Has there been any thought into maybe trying to set something in the system to kind of ignore that and maintain administrative privileges? Does that make sense? Hello, hello.
Again.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I think we keep
I'm here.
her.
Are you here?
I can hear you. I can't hear Sherry. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, she said that she lost us again.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, are you back?
We are. I am.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's on my end. I'm not touching anything. But okay, so let's try this to finish your question. So when the file gets dropped, you're losing the role?
Well, we're not, well, it unmarks them as a unit manager. And so then they know they don't have permissions to go in and view employee records or whatever for their organization.
Yeah, unfortunately, when the file gets dropped, it is going to change them. The only way to control that would be, on the file that's dropped to keep them on the is manager column, have them marked as a 1.
Okay.
On the user load file.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Now one thing you could do is schedule a report for yourself to, like this delivered daily, and of users that do have the manager flag checked versus those that do not. So you'll know if that does get changed or which users are changed. But again, that would be a pretty large report if you're getting all your users. But
yeah. Okay.
That would be one way to identify them. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So speaking of unit managers, that is, this is one of the most common things that come into support a lot of times is that, I have a user, and when they go into user management, they're not seeing anybody. And so when a unit manager is checked, and I've got a user I created. Let's see. So this user, Fanny Price, is marked as a unit manager. She comes into user management, does a search, and no users are returned. And the reason for this is that once a user is checked as a unit manager, they also have to be added as a manager to the organizations that you want them to manage. So we want Fanny, she works for Publix, and she works in, well, I don't have any other users. We're going to go ahead and add her as a unit manager to the Publix grocery store chain. And only users that do have unit manager selected will appear in the selected unit managers box. So here's Fanny. I'm going to go ahead and add her and submit. Now, as far as adding users you can see which users are associated to these orgs by here as well. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So now when I go in as Fanny, I'm just going to go ahead and update this. This is my user that I'm logged in. She now gets returned the 3 users that are in the Publix hierarchy. So the most important thing is adding them as an org manager. Now, again, depending on which roles they have, what you want your unit managers to do. You may just want a unit manager to be able to do training session attendance. You may just want a unit manager to be able to register users. So there is a role that is called unit manager. Now, this role previously, if you selected the unit manager checkbox, you had to give them this unit manager role. We've taken that requirement away. A lot of clients still are using the unit manager role. But if you go into user management, and I'm just going to pull up any user here, you're no longer going to see that role when you do a role lookup. It's not there because it's no longer necessary. I mean, it's just a role like any other role. So you can give, if whatever roles you have created, we're not forcing you to use this unit manager role anymore. So in order to add users to that role, if you are currently using it, is to go to the role directly. And you can add users, and not just to this role, but any role you create, you can just come to that role, hit View Users, and then you can add users from here as well. So if you don't go to the user management page, again, they can be added right from here. Also, there's a Jared, let me pull up another user I have here for you. You can see on Fanny Price, so she's got user management, registration wizard. If she wants to add a user, the only organization she'll be able to add a user to is the Publix organization, because that's the only one that she's a unit manager of. So this is another good way to use the unit manager functionality. You could have a manager that, if you have several different locations, for instance, could be a manager of 10 locations in Illinois and 20 locations in Iowa. And then that way you can manage just the records they see. So when they go in, they're not inundated with all the information, only the information that they need to manage. Do you have any questions for me regarding how role management is, or how to set them up, what the unit manager can and cannot do? Both of you are good?
I'm all set.
Okay. No questions?
No questions for me.
All right, Kathy?
None for me, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Listen, you both have a wonderful holiday season, and I will talk to you soon.
You too, Sherry. Thanks for all you do.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.